He was the world champion, but he wasn't treated like a world champion. Sometimes Ricky's was too nice, but enough was enough, and we lost a really good talent. When you lose a Ricky Steamboat from your batting lineup, your roster, that shit ain't good, buddy. So again, it was unfortunate. I felt so bad for Ricky Steamboat because he had not done anything that would merit that sort of treatment.
Right.
It was a great illustration, Conrad, a piss poor communication. And again, you can tell by my discussions, and this is not an indictment on anybody on the booking committee, but booking committees in general don't work. In general, do not work because there's not that one discernible, legible voice that could make that final decision. And so then so then in our situation, that booking committee, you would have, the final decision at the end of the day is going to be Jim Hurd. So where are you? It was a system that was not built to succeed or to generate additional profits and revenues. It just wasn't. But Steamboat's situation it's almost embarrassing to think about in those regards. He's there all day. Somewhere along the way, these issues are being discussed in small little groups of maybe 2 or 3 people. But you got to believe that you're going to tell Steamboat, hey, here's what we're going to do. He knew he was dropping the title when he got there. That was not a surprise. But the other stuff really shit on the. You just moved on. Now I know New Japan does this a lot.
Right.
They have angles, and then they quote unquote blow it off, and then they have another guy come out and challenge, and they start another story. So that's not unusual, but I think you certainly want to communicate with your talent what you're going to do, and Ricky didn't get that opportunity to be informed. Not good.
Not good indeed. But we know we're in for a real treat. Let's keep going. This is not the last match on the card, unbelievably. The next one is for the World Tag Team titles. It's the Road Warriors challenging the champs, Steve Williams and Mike Rotunda. They go 6 minutes and 6 seconds. Road Warriors get the win by DQ. This one was just sort of there. It definitely, after the big high you're on of the world title, it's really hard to move on, but, I like to see clean finishes on pay-per-view. Unfortunately, this is not one of them, but this is some of your favorites. Dr. Death, Mike Rotunda, the Road Warriors. You grew up with these guys in the biz. What'd you think watching it back this time, for the first time in 30 years?
Had a lot of potential, time restraints, didn't do him any favors, but you can see that there was a little bit of magic there. And a lot of that was because where heretofore, in that era, the Road Warriors were very dominating, physically dominating, and therefore they were very intimidating to some teams. And they knew the Road Warriors had influence a lot of these younger teams, but the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, didn't take any liberties or flex their muscles on Doc or Rotunda, because that would not have been a smart move. Because both guys, Doc and Rotunda, are great amateurs, big, strong guys, athletes, 2-sport athletes at D1 schools, Rotunda at Syracuse, Dr. Death at Oklahoma. They had the background to take care of themselves. So there was a mutual respect of tough alpha males in that ring. But you can see where the Varsity Club and the Road Warriors could have had a really good long-term program. But when you got to work around, how do we book the Road Warriors to keep them strong if we beat them? Which is one of the dumbest goddamn philosophies. The Road Warriors are better workers than that. And so nobody gave them credit. All they were muscle heads. They were just gimmicks. Tell them, Hawk, tell them, I don't tell them. You tell them. No, you tell them. Come on. It was a short match that you could see great potential in. But why we had to have a DQ in 6 minutes still is a little bit of a head scratcher.
We should mention, as a result of this, they're going to start a tournament to crown new tag team champions. Eventually the Freebirds, Michael Hayes and Jimmy Jam, they're going to win it. Our last match though is for the U.S. tag team titles. It's Eddie Gilbert and Rick Steiner retaining over Sullivan and Spivey. They go 6 minutes, 41 seconds. It gets 2.5 stars. Meltzer would say Steiner tore his bicep 2 nights earlier in Montgomery and had been told there was no way he could work this match and not work it for at least 1 month, but yet there he was. The heels immediately attacked Steiner and posted his bad arm, and Spivey gave him a shoulder breaker and basically rendered him helpless. Gilbert worked the entire match, mainly just getting destroyed by Spivey. The finish saw Steiner clothesline Sullivan with his good arm as Sullivan was about to pile drive Gilbert. Gilbert falls on top for the pin. This was good, except by this time the crowd had seen so much that they couldn't get any heat at all. After the bout, the heels worked on Steiner's arm some more and he got pummeled and wound up with a bloody nose. There was a specific directive from TBS against the usage of blood, but this was unplanned juice, as they say. 2.5 stars. What'd you think?
Not bad, especially considering the position on the card and where they were as the night progressed. You're the very last thing of a 3-hour pay-per-view, and you're not the main event. So, and following Flair and Steamboat and Funk and Wagnall. No, but the pile driver on the table, that was a new spot then. Now you can see guys going through tables. The Dudleys, a great tag team with Bubba and Devon, they made a living off those tables. And now, guys use tables for high spots, like they use DDTs, Canadian Destroyers for high spots, which is fucking repulsive. If I had the pencil, Conrad, and used a goddamn DDT as a transition spot, or the Canadian Destroyer, guess what? You lose. You lose your goddamn push because you're an idiot. So really, seriously, it was where they were on the card was what's the word I'm looking for? Unattainable. Couldn't get there. Right. You can't get there from here. You ever stop and ask for directions? Well, you can't get there from here. That's kind of that deal. But I thought, hey, I loved Eddie Gilbert and Rick Steiner together. Eddie really helped Steiner's personality come out, which was good. It just hadn't been exposed. Really, really good. And so it was a tough spot they were in. I don't know how they could have been great, but to have the match they had in less than 7 minutes was a pretty damn good accomplishment when you think about it. So that hats off to Dangerous Dan, the left-hand man Spivey, and the little devil Kevin Sullivan. They did their share too.
Let's talk about what Meltzer sort of wrapped up the pay-per-view with. He says there was a definite mood about this place that was day one of the new beginning of the NWA. Maybe yes, maybe no. From a booking standpoint, this was the best booked pay-per-view show thus far. I can't judge the overall production, announcing, etc., but they've got nothing but praise from those I've talked with. The wrestling was basically good with a super main event. They came out with several new angles for the summer, and there is more of the same to come over the next 2 months. However, this isn't like the first good show the NWA has put on as of late. Every big show since Starrcade has been a good show. The problem isn't putting on good shows. While booking has been a major problem in the past, it wasn't the major problem. The problems are positioning on television, syndicated TV, and public perception of the product. Great pay-per-view telecasts and great house shows won't change those problems, and my feeling is that the real turnaround can't take place until those problems are dealt with. Sure, Flair as a babyface will get a great pop and super heat in the houses, particularly with a heel with the knowledge and ability of Terry Funk. But the television interviews between the two may very well exceed those that Randy Savage has been doing. But if you're not watching TV and the promotion of the house show stays the way it's been, they may do a great product and have great matches that won't result in great money. So he's still sort of negative as far as the outcome, and we know it's not really going to pull the nose up for several more years in WCW. But shows like this, where you have such a tremendous main event and so much talent, it does sort of make you scratch your head and say, God damn, what could they have done?
Yeah, if the company had been committed in the early days in WCW and had a better leader that could enjoin and embrace and recruit and endear himself and the division to the other Turner executives, things could have been a lot different as well. I think I mentioned earlier the accolades to Eric for getting the company in tune with everything. I think at some point Eric came along at the right place at the right time, because not that he wasn't going to do a good job, he was very bright, but the fact that they had, the WCW people, the management, Turner more specifically, were so fucking tired of the shit that they were enduring. They had just enough product knowledge to know that things were not right, but the main thing they had was they had data. They had house show receipts. They had ticket sales. They had pay-per-views. They had TV ratings. They had quarter-hour ratings. They had minute-by-minute ratings. They had every measurable that any TV entity could have. And I think finally they said, well, let's try this. And Eric made a great presentation, and he did a hell of a job. So my hat's off to the host of 83 Weeks that you can hear on the Podfathers Network every Monday. There again, I'm plugging everybody else's deal. You remember that? Remember telling me about that?
I do.
You think they're going to plug my shit? No, because they don't want me to have a goddamn push, son of a bitches. They're jealous. I'm kidding.
Well, you know what? They are jealous that you've got one of the best sellers around. We've played some audio clips. Your regular book is not just available. You can get an autographed book from your website, and now the fucking audio book is out. There's so many ways to enjoy you these days, J.R.
Oh, thank you so much, Conrad. You're so nice to me since the baby got here. Ebooks. You ain't got to leave your house. We'll take care of it. JRSBBQ.com. And you know what's got hot lately?
What's that?
Barbecue sauce.
Really?
Grilling season, man.
Let's do it, baby.
Grilling season. So, JRSBBQ.com is the, I'm hustling here now, panhandling. But seriously, just off our little website, we sold and I signed 2,000 books. And we get 25, 30 orders a day. So the book's doing very well, considering this virus has the front door shut of a lot of Barnes and Noble. So you just got to make the best of what you do, right? This is the hand we got. So let's adjust. So it's good. I appreciate everybody's support on it, seriously. And so it's all working out good. But I did think Eric did a great job there. He convinced the right people in Turner to open up their purses and the strings of their purses, whatever I'm trying to say, and get behind this brand. And when they did, and his hiring of these big stars that have become famous, that they all used to drool over, like especially Hogan, and then Hall and Nash, for sure, that gave the company confidence that we're not building around a washed up Iron Sheik or a junkyard dog that no shows when he wants to, et cetera, et cetera. So it was an interesting thing there, but there's no telling how good WCW could have been if they had one guy in charge and that knew wrestling and knew psychology and understood how to work with talent and motivate talent. We didn't have that. And we didn't have that. Then after Hurd left, who was it? Kit Fry, nicest guy in the world. He loved Duke basketball, nice attorney from Duke, smart dude, but didn't come here from Sickle about wrestling. And then the Cowboy comes in and starts, he's a bull in China closet. He wants to go back to the 70s and 80s in some respects. And some of his ideas are actually good ones, but they weren't very, very well received because he didn't want to, he liked to confront. He wasn't so crazy about conversing, but you get him in a nice confrontation, he's down with that, baby. So, it was just leadership. It was a key thing. That's why I like our chances in AEW. Tony Khan's a different kind of leader.
Right.
Mid 30s. He's hip. He's smart. He's knowledgeable. And even though something might not be his idea, he has no problem putting things on television that are not his idea. And that's very rare in the booking area because everybody's so goddamn insecure that they seem like if it's not my idea, it's not a good idea, which is absolutely insanity.
Well, what else is insanity is that we've got even more stuff coming your way next week. I'm really excited. We're going to honor one of your great friends. I think everybody listening to this knows, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. It's coming your way next week. I'm really excited about this because, believe it or not, we're getting to cover it on his birthday. If he was still with us, this would have been a big one. I think he would have been 60 years old, right?
Yep. Yeah, what a guy. What a guy. Great friend, like a little brother to